My name is Rich Ruohonen, like I'm ruining your day. And
You
that's
are
why I
not
tell
ruining
people
my day.
that way they don't forget it.
Would you rather have a party in your locker room with the director of the FBI, Kash Patel, or be the guy who's in charge of restocking the Olympic Village with contraceptives for athletes? Because apparently they were running out, and they do like every time this happens, honestly. It feels like it's a party, the Olympic Village. Which path?
Which path?
Hey everyone, it's Mary Harris from Slate's What Next podcast. And I'm here because this week I did an interview that I loved so much that even though normally it would stay behind a paywall for Slate Plus members only, we decided to bring it on out to YouTube here so it could find you. The interview is with a guy named Rich Ruohonen. He's a U.S. Olympic curler. You might remember Rich because he made news while he was over in Italy. First of all, because he is the oldest American Winter Olympian ever. He's 54. But also because he had strong words for the Trump administration. He is Minnesotan. He's an attorney. So his words were deeply felt. Now that he's back in the U.S., I wanted to ask him how that all went down for him personally. And he had a really interesting story to tell. So here's that conversation. And just remember as you're listening, if you like what you hear, you can get conversations like this and more every week by joining Slate Plus, our membership program. He has been in Italy representing Team USA in singular fashion. We have Olympic curler Rich Ruohonen here. Welcome to the show, Rich. I'm so pleased to have you.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I just want to introduce you a bit for people who maybe don't know your full story, because I wanted to talk to you for a couple of reasons. Like, number one, you didn't medal in the Olympics, but you did win a lot of hearts, including my own, because for a couple of reasons. First of all, you were the oldest Olympian ever to compete. Am I getting that right?
Right. Oldest U.S. Winter Olympian, not Olympian. There's some guy from Norway who was like 58 or something. But yeah, oldest U.S. Winter Olympian.
Does that mean you have one more Olympics in you? That guy was 58.
We're talking about it right now. I don't know, but it gets tougher and tougher to play at this age. I'm not gonna lie. I'd be lying if I told you it's easy like it used to be. But hey, we're gonna talk about whether I stay on for a little bit longer or not. But I kind of feel like, I got there, I did what I needed to do, and now I probably got to step into a little bit more of a coaching role, which is, it's where I was this last Olympics, so to speak. I mean, I was still a player, but I stepped in to help someone who was, having some medical issues, and those medical issues are getting better. And so we'll figure it out. I'm not for sure out, but it might be.
It's like the Cinderella story, because you had tried to be on the Olympics a whole bunch of times, and then this player got sick and you were subbed in as, an alternate, and then you got to do your thing. And I love that.
Yeah, it was my first actually Olympic trials, or that I played to try to get to the Olympics, was when it was a demonstration sport in 1988.
Wow. So it was like ski ballet or something. It was like something they were like, we're not sure about this, but let's try it.
The way they do it is it starts as a demonstration sport, and if you get enough momentum and all that, then they say, okay, you could be a medal sport again. And it was a medal sport way back, but it got, they move around a little bit, the sport sometimes. They took wrestling out, and there's things like that they've done. And so we got back in the late 90s, and then I started, my first national championship was in 1998 for men's, and then played pretty hard for the last 25 years to try to make the Olympics, and second several times, and third and fourth, and including 4 years ago, I was playing mixed doubles. That's where you play with one man and one woman, and Jamie Sinclair and I lost on last shot to go to the Olympics, and my men's team took third.
Oh my gosh!
So I thought it was over then, probably at 50.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so what do you think Americans misunderstand about curling? I think of curling as like very Canadian in my mind. And I think it's the kind of sport that I mostly pay attention to during the Olympics. So you're a personal injury attorney in Minnesota. You have like a full life and career, but also you're like, surprise, I'm a curler. When you tell people that, are you having to like explain the sport? Like, what do you think people don't get? Like, do you get the question mark face?
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, I think they think it's easy. And
Yes.
and then I take them out there, and the next day they can't walk because they're so sore and they're so tired sweeping one rock, let alone sweeping, you know, 80 rocks in a game for the guys that sweep more.
We should
And
explain. You have to get
yeah,
a 40-pound stone
yep,
into the house.
yep.
And like the closest it gets to the button, the center of it, like you get the point, right? Am I getting it
Right.
right?
Yeah, it's pretty right. Like if anybody's played bocce ball before,
Right.
and
Ice
so if
bocce.
you have one in the middle and they have five around the end, that edge, that one end that's closest to the middle cancels out everything else. So you can have one of our rock and one of theirs, and three of ours. We only get one because their rocks cancel out any outside of that. So that's how the scoring works. But in
Brutal.
curling, there's like in bocce ball, you can throw it over another ball and land it right next to the middle of the thing that you're shooting at, the little ball. And in curling, we have to curl around it. You can't go through something.
It's more like pool.
So the rock takes like a circular, path down the ice. So we aim at a spot that might be 4 feet away from where we end up, and then we turn it towards where we want it to end up. And so it takes a path down the ice that's kind of circular, like a arcing path. And some ice curls more than others. It's kind of like a putt in golf. You have to read it. And
Is it like
spots in the
skiing,
ice-
like wet snow, icy snow kind of thing? How was that Olympic ice?
No,
Was it good ice?
So yeah, oh, it was great. I mean, we play on bad ice sometimes in our tournaments during the year. Okay, this was phenomenal for.
Do you complain to the ref? You're like, this is bad ice.
Yeah, we people do complain to the ice makers, and there is a whole science behind ice and the way they have to rein it in a little bit, get it to curl more or curl less, and people don't understand all this stuff, but we sand the rocks with this really fine grit sandpaper to make them curl more because we want 4 to 6 feet of curl, and because if ice gets too straight, it's hard to make good shots and it's hard to play to the crowd and things like
I feel
that.
like this is like physics. This is like physics pool bocce on ice go.
Yeah, and in fact, most people don't know this, but they call it pebbling the ice. So they take like a watering can and they sprinkle this water and it falls down on the ice and
to make it rougher?
To make it so the rock will actually glide. It's called pebbling the ice. So it's like tiny droplets of water that then freeze. When they hit the ice, they freeze and the rock rides on that because the running surface of the rock is really only about 5 inches wide, maybe 6.
Because that's like the bottom. It's like a round rock.
And it's not flat. It's concave. So the part that rides on the ice is just like usually about a quarter to a half inch wide. And then it rides on those pebbles to make it go.
I feel like there's a college course here. There is a college course here.
There is, because we've tried to throw it on hockey ice before, for instance. You throw it as hard as you want, it goes 50 feet. So it's these pebbles that it rides on that helps it go. And then sweeping, like what that does is it reduces the friction. We can't make a rock go faster. We can make it go farther. And so like I always tell people, like if you take an ice cube out of the freezer and it's kind of sticky when you grab it and then you rub your finger on it, it gets slippery, right? So because there's this tiny layer of frost on it. So what we're doing with sweeping is we are eliminating or reducing that frost, which reduces the friction, which makes the rock go farther. And
okay, so you've been doing this since you're 12 years old.
Yes.
Carrying around 40-pound stones.
Yeah. Well, we don't carry them. So
that's sliding.
Right. But what I'm saying is people always ask, the one question we always get is, do you have your own stones? No, they're way too expensive. Each club has their own stones. And
we should be clear, like these stones come from a very specific island off of the coast of Scotland. So like they're rare. It's essentially like you have a diamond, I guess. You have to like
it's called Alyssa Craig. It's an island off the coast of Scotland, and that's where almost all the rocks come from. Canada Curling now has another place where they get rocks as well, but most come from the Alyssa Craig quarry, which is an island off of Scotland, and it's a whole thing making one of these. There's YouTube videos on it. I could go on forever, but
can we get back to the fact that like you have this kind of like amazing story of how you got there, and like you joked about it. You had this T-shirt you wore, I think, around the Olympic Village, being like, "I'm not a dad," basically.
I'm
I'm
not the
not a
coach and I'm
dad.
not
I'm
the
not the
dad.
coach.
Yeah,
I'm me, a
yeah,
competitor.
yeah.
Were there confusing moments where people were like, sir, what's happening?
Yeah. Most people know me because I've curled so long, and half the guys there I probably played against their dads. So,
Yeah, in
and
your
in fact,
final game, when you got on, you were playing against children of your former competitors, is my
yeah, I
understanding.
played one of the guys' dads in senior worlds last 2 years ago. So,
Amazing.
because I've been to the senior world championship the last 3 years, world championship, and we took second and third. So, and we're going back. I'm going to Geneva in a month and a half. So, but I've a lot of guys there I have played against, coached that they're coaching now. In fact, I didn't. The one thing I regret is I was going to get a picture with all of them and say these guys were too old to play, and I'm still playing. Because I give them a hard time. I'm like, why aren't you guys still playing? And
I
most
can
of them are
manage it.
younger than me. Most of them are younger than me. So, yeah, so super fun, and I did have that shirt made because Jordan Moulton is our coach, and they look at me and they're like, "What is she doing here? You must be the coach," because I'm this old guy, right? And I always feel bad when they say that because she's an awesome coach and she helps us tremendously. And so I'm like, I'm not the coach. She's the coach. And then I'm like, I'm not the dad too because I saw this meme when we won, going, looks like some dad is bringing his 4 kids to the Olympics this next week. And I thought it was funny. I'm owning it. I love it. I love the fact that I made this record to be the oldest U.S. Winter Olympian ever. It's awesome. I'm playing into it. It's fine with me. So
Yeah. You made headlines for another reason too, which is there was this press conference you gave where you were really honest about how you felt about what was happening in Minnesota as you were in Italy.
What's happening in Minnesota is wrong. There's no shades of gray. It's clear.
And I just rewatched this press conference this morning. And I have to say the thing that stood out to me is that you speak for a solid 2 minutes. And to me that's meaningful because it's easy to just be like, yeah, things are hard, move on. But you're like, things are hard. P.S. I'm an attorney. There's no gray area here. What's going on is wrong. Was it hard for you to make that statement, or did you feel like you needed to?
to be honest, I felt like I needed to. We had a talk about it with our curlers, our fellow competitors on both teams, on the women's team and on my team, and we all felt the same way. I think being the elder statesman and the attorney, and I'm able to say it maybe a little better than they could without hopefully making too many mistakes in what I was about to say. And by mistakes, I just mean saying something incorrect, not necessarily saying something controversial. I knew
Yeah, the
it was
legal
going to be
training will help you
controversial.
with that.
Yeah, so that's what I do for a living. I've
Yeah.
I've tried almost 100 cases. So I can talk. So, and we all felt like hey, if we don't say anything, we look like jerks, especially given what we agree, that we all agree what's going on is wrong. And so I
Had
said,
on the team or you had any personal experiences leading up to the games where you just that was part of what went into the motivation here? Because
yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah. I mean, I've had some clients that are afraid to leave their home. And I had a client who's um, I don't want to give up too much. I got to be careful. But, her boyfriend who had a working visa was basically taken by ICE and said if he gives up his visa and goes home right away, they will let him go. Otherwise, they're going to take him. And to me, that's absolutely craziness. We had, obviously right before we left, we had the Renee Good and Alex Preddy shootings. And I had said, something bad's going to happen. And we've been talking about it at our firm, and we have people here who I had given money. I wasn't able to go out and really risk protesting because, like, if something happens and I can't go to the Olympics, I felt actually bad about that because I would have been out there, and we had people in our firm that were out there.
Hmm.
But I was giving money to help feed people who were afraid to leave their house. I have clients that are worried about, can they go to a hearing and then maybe get arrested when they're legal citizens. and just because of their name or just because of their skin color. We had there was a police officer from my area that was pulled over, and
A police officer
an
who was
African
maybe a
American police
minority.
officer,
Yeah.
yes, and she didn't tell him she was a cop right away, which I loved, and they were going after her. And that was all over the news here, and so there's just so many stories, and I just the narratives that were created, I thought were wrong. I think it was clear, and I felt like we needed to say something.
Did you
And
worry you were making yourself a target? I mean, other
yeah,
athletes were specifically targeted.
yeah. I mean, I think the thing I'm probably most disappointed about is not getting a Truth Social post from Donald
You
Trump.
wanted that Truth Social tweet, that post at like 2 a.m.
Being facetious, but you know what I mean? It's like we had to say something, and I needed to be the one to do it given who I am and my age, and also I knew there was going to be some issues, and there were. There were some death threats and some
Against the curlers?
no, against me personally, my family,
Oh.
and that, things like, hey, your family, maybe your daughter and wife should be raped by a immigrant or things like that. And
Oh
so,
my
I mean, we
gosh, I'm
heard it
so
all.
sorry.
Yeah. And so I knew it was gonna some of that stuff would happen. You know, um, I don't think that's what most people believe, even if they disagree with what I said. But yeah, there were some issues we had to deal with. And I will say this, we did have people that were checking on when we would get those kind of posts from the government that I don't want to say too much, but that were protecting us from any threats. And those people were figured out right away who said those kind of things. Where are they? Are they in Italy? Are they in Minnesota? Most of them were living in a trailer in Texas in the middle of nowhere. But there were some pretty significantly bad posts and emails that I got because my stuff is out there, and there are people trying to dox you and get your address out there, but we had a lot we had significant help on that with all that kind of stuff. So it was a little bit of a trying time. I was less concerned about it.
It's hard to have that and compete then.
Yeah, well, that's why I needed to say it, because I was the alternate, right? Like we couldn't have
So you felt like you were taking one for the team.
yeah, I was, but I wanted to. I wanted to say what I said. I'm not at all sugarcoating that part of it. Someone needed to say it, and also, I think what a lot of people don't understand is female athletes have it way worse than we do, because they are getting crap either way, which is completely unfair. I mean, these ladies are wonderful people. They gave it everything they had. They're moms, and if one of them said it, it would have been way worse probably for them. And so, and
Thank you for acknowledging that.
yeah, it's not right. It's not fair. And so I needed to be the one to say it. And I strongly believe in what I said. I wouldn't change this thing. And I want to make it clear. I mean, we love the U.S. We love what the flag is supposed to represent, but that wasn't what was happening in Minnesota. And when you have the government telling you don't believe your own eyes with what you see, that's wrong. And we had to say something, and I am more proud of that, and I would have been as proud of that as winning a gold medal if we had done that, because it needed to be said.
I was introduced to a term this week by someone I interviewed, which was sports washing. The idea that some leaders use sports to kind of push aside doubts about their leadership and, project strength. And this phrase was used particularly because we were discussing what happened at the State of the Union with the men's hockey team. I don't know if you want to say anything about that and whether what you think that represents or was appropriate. I mean, obviously you saw a divide between the men's and the women's teams, which speaks a little bit to what you're saying here about how women experience blowback in different ways than men. I don't know if you want to comment on that.
I would definitely say a couple things. One is the day after I made my statement, or maybe it was 2 days later, JD Vance was in Cortina or Milan. It was in Milan. They never came to Cortina, but they were in Milan and we were in Cortina. But he said something like, if you say something, you deserve to get the backlash.
You're there to play a sport, and you're there to represent your country and hopefully win a medal. You're not there to pop off about politics.
And I thought, what kind of a person would say that? What he should say is, hey, we have freedom of speech in our country, and it's okay. I don't have to agree with them, but it's okay for them to say what they think. That's what we do in the U.S. That's one of the most basic rights with our Constitution. So I was pretty like, Jesus, I can't believe he said that, because I think most presidents, most vice presidents, most major party people would say, hey, I don't agree with it, but he has the right to say that. And that's not what happened. And I think that also
sounds like if you got that White House invitation, you might decline.
I would not have went, for sure. There's no question. And I understand why some of the male hockey players wanted to go. I mean, doesn't mean you're MAGA or Trump or whatever. I understand why some of them wanted to go, but what was said at that moment, I can understand that you kind of maybe didn't quite get the full extent of what was happening right that day, but there should have been comments the next day saying, you know what, that was wrong. We shouldn't have laughed. We should have acknowledged that they had, you're damn right, you should invite them too.
Right, you mean the comments about the women's team, like, haha, I have to invite them, otherwise people might impeach me, haha.
Yeah, and as as a male, it's easy for me to like, okay, I should ignore that. I shouldn't speak out about it. I should just, not understand what they go through, what women go through. But I understood it before I made my statement. I didn't want them to have to deal with what they would have dealt with, because you'd be maybe not stunned, but they have to deal with stuff that I didn't have to deal with without making that statement. People making comments about them and their appearance and stalking them and, online or whatever during the Olympics. That's why most of us went dark during that time. We had people running our social media. But I obviously had to do some things because I was getting emails and texts, and people know my number's out there when you're an attorney, and you know what I mean? So, but I think you have to acknowledge after the fact, even when you make a mistake, especially as a man, we have the duty to do that and say, hey, I have a daughter who played sports. I've seen the comments and stuff, even to high school athletes. And so they should have stepped back at that point and just said, you know what was said was wrong. It doesn't mean they had to necessarily decline their invitation. I would have, but I think if you step back for a second and said that was wrong to laugh, and if you really respect them so much, like you say you do, come out the next day and say, I didn't handle that right.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I
admit
think.
your
When you
mistake.
double down on it, that's the problem.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying there. Okay, I want to ask you something more lighthearted, which is you're Gen X, I'm Gen X. One of the things I've noticed from afar and admired from afar is that as an athlete, you have embraced the fact that you are older and you are mostly competing with and against younger people. And that means that, like, if they're doing a TikTok dance, you are doing a TikTok dance.
Yep.
TikTok
plenty
dances?
of those.
Okay, I fear looking like a fool doing this. What is your advice for me? Like, teach me your skills to get over my Gen X fear of cringe, embracing the youth.
You know what? I think I always like try to be the one to come up with some of these, and some of them are like, you're an idiot. Why did you do that? Like one of the ones that I did was we met the bobsledders and lugers and skeleton people because they were in the village with us, and I'm learning so much about their sport, and I just take it all in. I love it, right? And I was like, they get the same thing that we have. Oh, this is easy. I could do that. So I did this
I
one.
could ride a rocket down a.
I did this one where we were watching. And I said I could do that, and then we show a person crashing, and then it shows me and Rich, 1917 to 2026. So like I'm 100 years old, and said dead. So I was, and they thought it was funny because they're like, yeah, everybody says we could do this, right? Because they say that about curling, and then they try it, and it's not even remotely close. Like, I invite people all the time. Come on down. I'll show you. I'll take you out there for 50 minutes. And the next day you'll go, my hamstrings hurt, my knee hurts, my back hurts. And I tell people, like, we we're actually out on the ice sometimes for 8 hours a day. So here's what I want you to do. I want you just to stand on ice. Don't do any activity at all. Stand and just stand there for 8 hours.
That's like a core exercise.
Yes. And when you're on ice, your feet get cold and your back gets cold and it starts to tighten up, and you can stretch and you can bend down on that, but just stand there for 3 hours and tell me how you feel the next day. Because it's not hard. I mean, it's going to hurt. I mean, So I always tell people, I teach people how to curl all the time. And I've taught hockey players. They're usually generally better at it than most. I will say that.
They're used to the ice for sure.
Female and male hockey players, they got the slot. They can figure it out. But it's still so hard when it comes to then sweep for 30 seconds, stop, sweep for 30 seconds, stop, or whatever. It's tough.
Okay, before we go, we like to play a game on Fridays where we do a little quiz, have a little fun. And this week, my producer has come up with the most hilarious quiz, which is a Would You Rather quiz. You will get 2 options. It is Olympic themed. And the Would You Rathers are things that actually happened in the Olympics. So you are choosing which Olympic journey you would have preferred to be on. Okay. Do you accept my challenge?
I'll give it a whirl.
Let's do it. Okay.
All right.
Question 1 is going to test your daring. Would you rather try to run on a luge sled where we've seen athletes hit 90 miles an hour? I feel like you just alluded to how much you think you can do that. Or would you rather, this is actually going to get into like politics, curling politics. Would you rather accuse a feisty and foul-mouthed Canadian curler of cheating with a little extra finger push on his stone, which did also happen? Which journey do you choose?
I would rather do the luge because I want to, or the skeleton because I want to try it. I wanted to try it so bad. And of course you might die. So that's a little bit crazy, but I felt like
back.
I was asking him so many questions that I think they said they thought I could handle it. You wouldn't go as fast and you wouldn't go as high up on the corners and it might hurt a little bit getting banged around. But I honestly want to try it if I knew I wasn't going to die. So I
think my journalist instincts mean I would take on the curler, but you know more than me about how that would have gone down.
Yeah. I know a lot about what happened there. So.
I mean, what do you think? Did they do it?
Well, I mean, he obviously touched the stone past the line, which you're not allowed to do. But you know what? We have people, we normally in most curling, we don't have a handle that goes off if you hold it too long. We do in big events like that. And what he did isn't going to affect I could push it with my finger and I can't push it more than a foot. I think it was just part of his delivery that he's done. I mean, Mark's an elder statesman of the sport. I don't think he handled the situation perfectly because I don't think Oscar, the guy who said it, was telling him he's cheating. He just said you can't do that. And I think it was taken as, you're cheating, right? And then again, it goes back to this thing about doubling down on it afterwards, because what he said is I never do it. And you clearly do it sometimes. And I respect Mark tremendously. Like, he's one of my favorite curlers. He's so nice. He's always asked you about your family. And some guys aren't like that, right? And how you're doing. And I don't think he was purposely trying to cheat at all. I just think it's something that he sometimes does. That, some people do that. They actually touch the back of the rock just as like their hands falling down. I think it got blown way out, as everything does, out of proportion, but it was more because of how he reacted he reacted to it, right? If he just said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that," I don't think it would have blown up like it did. But when you tell someone, there's a lot of swearing that happens in sports. I got asked, "Hey, what about the swearing?"
Is there swearing in curling? I think of curling is so sweet.
I swear at myself all the time when I miss, like, how could you be that?
I do that too.
Stupid, or you throw a bad shot, or you make the wrong call, and you're like, "Oh my gosh," But we just don't usually swear at other people, and so that's where it got a little heated because he took it as you're cheating, and I took it as you were offsides. Like, you know what I mean? In football and stuff, we have a flag thrown, and curling we police.
You called it football, soccer, huh?
Yeah. I meant football. I meant more like football.
Oh, football. Okay.
I get crap from the Europeans because they're like real football or your football. I'm like, my football is real football, the U.S. football. But
okay. Hold on. I'm going to go to question 2.
Yep.
This one is about embarrassing situations. Would you rather be the official who has to hand little stuffed animals of the Olympic mascot to the losers of a gold medal, which is just like sad and hard, or be the owner of the Czechoslovakian wolf dog who decided to be a part of the cross-country ski race? Also kind of embarrassing. Your wolf dog is like out there on the course. Which path do you choose?
I'd rather have the dog.
Me too.
I thought that was pretty embarrassing, like to hand. But on the other hand, I wanted one of those, and they were sold out everywhere. Because thought, I love the stoat.
They should be on your pillow in the Olympic Village.
I know. We did not get them, and we couldn't get them anywhere. And I got a little pin that I traded for one of my curling pins from some really nice woman who said, I want the stoat pin because, that's the little
The stoat
weasel,
is the little stuffed
weasel.
animal. Yeah, the white weasel.
And they're pretty dangerous, actually, even though the Tina one is like so nice and so happy, But I wanted one of those. So I that's why it was probably more embarrassing. But if you'd have thrown it on the ground, I'd rather have the other side because I'd have just grabbed it,
Okay, final question.
Yeah.
This one is just a wild question. Would you rather have a party in your locker room with the director of the FBI, Kash Patel, or be the guy who's in charge of restocking the Olympic Village with contraceptives for athletes? Because apparently they were running out, and they do like every time this happens, honestly. It feels like it's a party, the Olympic Village. Which path?
Which path?
I stumped you with this one.
I would because I think of what would I do if he came into our locker room, and I'd probably tell him to get the hell out. So it might be kind of fun.
Yeah.
So I'd probably want that.
You want the ability to tell him to get the hell out.
Hey, why are you here? Don't come celebrate with us. So that's probably what I would do. It's funny because we didn't have these boxes of condoms in our village, so I don't know where they all went. They must have been all.
What are the assumptions about curlers here? Curlers here have lives.
I had so many people going, bring one of those home to me, and I'm like, okay, I'll grab a handful, but I don't know where they are. They were.
I gotta ask the figure
skaters
or something.
Yeah, so must be just in the main Milan and Livino villages because it wasn't. I didn't see them in ours. I can tell you that.
Okay, Rich, I am beyond grateful for your time. This was a total delight. Exactly what I want to listen to on a Friday.
Perfect.
Rich Ruohonen is a curler on Team USA and a personal injury attorney from Minnesota. Thank you so much for doing this.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.